All right. Let's see. Let us get everything rolling here. Cool. Let's check the sound. Let us get everything rolling here. Yep. Well, you probably heard myself doing that, but that's fine. I'm just gonna get set up. And let's get ready to write some code. It's Friday night. And so, cool. We got this is all going straight. So we're going to be doing Ideabox, and we're going to do this on the Learn CO platform from Flatiron. And this should be pretty cool. So we've got things set up. And let's see, we got bundle. Nope. Nope, cannot literally jump out. That's great. So the first thing is we're going to create a project folder with the name Ideabox. KDR Ideabox. And we're going to enter that folder by doing cd Ideabox. And let me close this here. Yep, that's all I need. And so we're inside the Ideabox folder. So we're going to make a file called, oops, don't even do that, a file called gemfile, and we create the file using the touch command in the command line. And we're going to make a app.rb file and a config.ru file. Cool. So now when I do ls, I see that I've created those files. If I go up here in this corner, I can also click and see that I've created those files. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the gem file. Gem file is used to express the dependencies of our application. And we want the Sinatra app for our library, so we are going to add these lines. Source https rubygems.org, and what that does is it tells our bundler gem that when we go looking for other things that we are going to get it from rubygems.org. And we are going to do gem Sinatra. I am bad at typing, so bear with me. Require Sinatra / base. Cool. And we're going to save it with Control S. Cool. Now we are going to grab the dependencies by typing in bundle in the command line down below. And so you can see here that's getting the gem metadata, and it just goes and installs everything that we need to install. So what bundler does, it'll go to the gem file, see that, hey, we need Sinatra in here. So not only are we going to get Sinatra, we're going to get all the other stuff that Sinatra depends on, like its dependencies. And it goes, downloads, and installs them. And when we run bundle, it also creates this gemfile.log file, which lists out what dependencies and what versions of things we're needing, which is fine. So now we're going to go to app.rb, and we're going to start working our app. And we're going to create our bio app like this. We're going to make a class, Ideabox app. It's going to inherit from Sinatra base. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means, and we're going to fill this in with get/do hello world. And essentially what we've done here is that we've created this file, and we've in here we have get/do, and the slashes kind of represents our root of our web application. So like if you go to cnn.com, it's cnn.com/. A slash means like the root, with nothing on it. And what it's going to do is it's going to return hello world. And we save that. And the next thing we have to do is that we're going to configure, we're going to edit the file config.ru. Rack is the tool that runs our application, and Rack applications have a file called config.ru that tells Rack how we're going to load our application. So we're going to need to add some code to it. So we're going to do require bundler, which is the gem we checked to see if we had, and we do bundler.require. And what this does is it goes in the gem file, and it just makes sure that we have all the software in the gem file laid out and loaded. We're going to require /app.r/app. And what this does is that, hey, config, I want to know about everything that we wrote in our previous file, app.rb, and we're going to run Ideabox app. Oops. I keep doing that. I keep hitting Alt S to save, but I really should be hitting Control S to save. And so cool. That is excellent. So now, under here, I'm going to run rackup, all one word, and we see here that says the server's running at 165.227.162.05.583.02. This is the IP address of my server. This is the port it's running on. So I'm going to select this with my mouse. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to right click on it, and I am going to not going to let me copy, are you? Oh, that's irritating. So the trouble here is if I select this and I hit Control C, it stops the application. So I need to kind of create a new tab here. Stop. Smaller, be smaller. Be smaller. And I'm going to have to type in manually. 165.22, oops. 165.227.60.187 colon 395. Oh, sorry, I was typing the entirely wrong number. I was looking at my documentation. So it's 165.227.16.205 colon 58302, and we hit enter. And we see here that we've gotten the Hello World app. So I'm going to put that tab right in there. I'm going to switch to that and run back, and we see that this works. We have written a web app. Congratulations. So what happens here is that we start with this. Let's go to our app.rb. We start with the Ruby class, Ideabox app, which is going to contain our application. It inherits from Sinatra base, which what gives us all the Sinatra functionality. And Sinatra is the kind of code that we're using that we didn't write ourselves in order to create this web app. And so when we call a method get, we're giving it a parameter of this slash and a block of code. The string parameter to get is a URL pattern to match against the incoming HTTP request. So in this case, we have just the slash, which matches when someone visits the home page, which is the root of the application. So we're returning that hello world. And the block of code that we pass to the get method, that's what's going to run. So we got this thing, and hey, we've gotten iteration 0 done, which is great. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to have this, we're going to start off with a simple application where we are recording these ideas that you have, because the big picture of this is that this application is going to be a thing where we store our ideas, right? It's a box that ideas go into. And so what I'm going to do is that we're going to go to the documentation here. And as we follow along, if you're working along this way, we're in I1, we got to record these ideas. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy that, and we're going to replace this hello world with this block of HTML that I took from the thing. So what I did was I just copy and pasted this thing, and it's a quote from Susan Beth Pfeffer that says, "I guess I always felt, even if the world came to an end, McDonald's would still be open." Probably accurate. McDonald's would probably still be open if the world came to an end. And so what happens next is that we refresh this, and oh, that's a problem now, isn't it? Right now, this is not refreshing. We've kind of done this thing, and it works. It's not working. Let me rephrase. It's just not reviewing the changes. Like, this has changed, but our code is still looking at this whole thing, and that's not what we want. And what we're going to have to do is that we're going to use this thing called a reloader, so that we keep our server running, and it will detect when we've changed something in our code, and it won't have to restart the server. Because if we wanted to see the changes, we'd have to go down here, hit Control C, right? And then we type in rackup again, and server's running again. And when we go up here and refresh it, we see that it makes changes. So like, it's kind of annoying having to shut down our server and kind of bring it back up again if we want to make any changes. And we're going to be making a lot of changes. So we're going to use this program called Shotgun. And to use that, we're going to go into the gem file. We're going to add in Shotgun here. We'll save it. We go down to this. We're going to quit our application. We're going to run bundle. Bundle is going to go into our gem file. Notice that we've got Shotgun here now, which is wasn't there before. Get everything we need to get. And now what I do here is I'm going to type in Shotgun. And it says my server is running at this IP address and that port, which is different. So it's 165.227.16.205, 58301. So I'm going to change this to 01. And we see that this is the same thing as before. We haven't made any changes, but I'm going to go back to the app.rb and I am going to replace this with I've changed a thing. I'm going to save it. I'm going to revisit this, and I refresh it, and I see that it's changed. I've made a change to the code, and I've just hit refresh. The server's reloaded it, and everything works without having to restart the server, which is fantastic. And so let us start on our path to loading ideas. And what we're going to do is that the idea about programming is that programming is a thing that lazy people use. I'm a lazy person, and HTML is pretty verbose. You have to type in a lot of stuff in order to not have to do things. So what we're going to do is that we are going to create a view template. So within our project folder, we are going to put in this file. We're going to create a view template. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to right click on the Ideabox. I'm going to create a directory called views. Cool. And in this file, I'm going to create a file called index.erb. And this will be kind of our file where everything sits. And open that up. And I'm just going to copy and paste from this. Yep, here we go. There we go. Let us grab that, copy, we're going to paste it in here, we're going to save it, and so now we're going to go here, and we're going to expect that it changes, but no, it's still this. Why is it going this? Well, why that's happening is that this has no idea about that view I've created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this line to read ERB, index. When I save it, I go back here and I refresh it, and I see I've got that view that I've created. Fantastic. So now we want to be able to create ideas. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take this bit of HTML, I'm going to copy and paste it, I'm going to put it into my index.erb form. I'm going to copy and paste it in there, and when I refresh this, I should see that I now have this idea box. I've got this idea here. This is going to be my title. My idea goes here, and this the body of the idea, which is fantastic. So let's submit our first idea, right? Where's our first idea going to be? Let's say that let's get a pet and totally adopting a corgi. And we click the submit query button. And now we get this error message where Sinatra doesn't know this ditty. And this is Sinatra's default 404 page. A 404 page is what we see when we submit a request that doesn't have a matching route. So it usually means that we didn't define a route pattern, or our method's using the wrong HTTP verb, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the route pattern didn't match the request like we thought it did. So this error message doesn't really tell us what is happening. It doesn't really give us much information. So what we're going to do is that we are going to make a thing. And when we go here, what we're going to do is going to go back to app.rb, and right up top here, we're going to add this thing, not found do end. So this means that whenever I can't find where I'm looking for, whenever I don't have a route, I'm going to run this code on line 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, oops, I need to make these line up. When I not found, I want to go look for the error template that I've made, because if we can draw the parallel, because here we're doing ERB and index, so that means when I go to the root of my application, I expect it to go find index.erb in the views folder. So what we've done here is we've created a thing where it's like, when I can't find a matching route, I'm going to load error.erb in the views folder. So I'm going to switch back to this tab, and I'm going to refresh, and I get this, like, what? And we look at this error message. No such file directory in Ideabox views.error.erb. Why is that? Well, if we see here, we've got index ERB, but we don't have an error ERB. So I want to make the file, and we're going to make error.erb. And when we open it, it's an empty file. So I'm going to copy some stuff in here from this tutorial. I'm going to paste it, I'm going to save it, I'm going to go back here, I'm going to refresh it, and resend the information, and I see here that I have an error message that I'm trying to post to slash the idea title, get a pet, idea description, totally adopting a corgi. And so this is a lot more descriptive than the error message we were getting before. It's saying that this is what I'm trying to do, but nothing is working. Great. So when we go back to our code in app.rb, we've kind of defined what we want to do when we don't find a thing, and we've defined what we want to do when we want to get the root. But what about post the root? We need to find what should happen when we get a post to slash. So to do that, we do post slash do, and I'm going to put the end, and in this middle we want to write a thing, and we're going to do creating an idea, because that's what we're doing. We're creating an idea. I'm going to save it, I'm going to refresh, I'm going to resend the information, and I see this web page now says creating an idea. That's fantastic. But here's the problem. This is nearly useless, right? We are just printing out that we're creating an idea, but we're not actually creating an idea. We're not doing anything. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pseudocode. Pseudocode is this process of writing what you want a thing to do in English, so you can structure your stuff in a way that you can kind of write code easier. And we're going to outline these things that we're going to do. When we post, we want to create an idea, and based on the form parameters. After we've created the idea, we're going to store it, right? Oops, nope. Store. Typing is hard for me. Typing is hard for me most of the time. Store the idea. And the third thing we're going to do is that we're going to send us back to the index page so we can see all of our lovely ideas. Cool. So I'm going to save this so I have it. And so here's the big idea, right? We could write our entire application inside the app.rb file. But that is not great. We want to kind of pull things out to make things easier to find. And so what we're going to do is that I'm going to make in here, in the Ideabox folder, so I'm going to right click on Ideabox, I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to name it idea.rb. And this is going to be the file that has all the code that relates to the idea. And we're going to make a class for it. So I want to type in here, class idea. And we're just going to leave it empty for now. And just know that this is where we're going to keep things out. And so in our post method, let's go back to app.rb. Can I open more than one file at a time? It would be fantastic if I could. I can't figure out how. Whatever. We're going to create an idea based on the form parameters. And right now we're just going to do idea equals idea.new. Right? We're creating an idea. And what we do here is that when let me go back here. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go here and I refresh it. I want to resend the information. I got this error message that says uninitialized constant Ideabox app :idea. What this error message means is that I'm trying to create an idea on line 12. You see here the error message is saying that, hey, I'm getting this freaking out error at line 12 because I'm trying to create an idea, but this app here doesn't know about this idea class that we've created. So we have to tell it about it, and we're going to do that by require.quote./idea. And this is like, hey, this folder where you're running everything, look in this folder for this file that starts with idea, and that's where the code's going to come in. So I've saved the file. I go back to here, I hit refresh, I'm going to resend my information, and I've got a blank screen. Cool. So that means that this happened successfully, which is what I want. And so number 1, finished. We are good at programming. Number 2, store the idea. And so here's the idea. Here's the problem, right? I was going to say here's the idea, but I think that we want to avoid the idea, using the word idea. Our intent here is that we want to write code how we want it to work and then make it work that way. So what I want to do here is I want to store the idea, and my inkling is that I'm going to do idea.save. And when I call the save method on this idea object, it will save itself to the database. And I save it and I run. I refresh the page, and I get an entire error message. It says undefined method save for idea, line 17. Let's go back here, line 17. Oh, well, yeah. This little bit of code that we've just written is giving us these problems. And the reason why is that it's saying that there's undefined method save. Well, save is an idea method. And if we go back to idea.rb, we see that we've created this class idea, but there's no save method. So let's do that. We'll define the method save. And right now we're just taking very small steps, making sure that, our assumptions are correct as we go along. And we've defined the method save. So cool, like, right, that'll make this error go away, right? There's no defined method save. There's a save method now. We resend information and nothing happens. Not nothing happens, but we get to the end of code. So idea save, that works. And so it's working, right? No, it's not quite working. Are we actually saving anything? We are creating ideas, but the contents of ideas we're not saving. So almost every web application that you'll come across is backed by a database that stores the data. So we're going to use a simple database that comes with Ruby called YAML store. It works pretty simply, and we chose it because it's just pretty straightforward. You don't have to learn things like structured query language or any fancy stuff. We're going to walk through what you need to know how to save things together. And so the first problem is that we want to make the save. Oh, let's go back to the ID class. We want to make this save method work. And so again, I want to say idea. I always tell my students I absolutely hate defining a term with the same term because it's just circular. What we want to do is that every single instance of idea should be able to access the database and kind of write to it. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to define a database method. And in this database method, what we're going to do is that we're going to fetch the database referenced by the instance variable at database or create a new database. So we do this, database, double pipe equal, and the pipe button is right above your enter key, but you have to hit shift, so it's kind of above the backslash key. I always mix up which slash is the backslash and the forward slash, but this is the backslash. And we're going to do YAML store dot new Ideabox. And so what this code means is that when we call the method database, it's going to check the instance variable at database. And either it will return what's stored there, or it will set a new database called Ideabox and then set it to database. So it's pretty much saying like, hey, give me the database. Oh, if you don't have a database, just create a new database called Ideabox for me. This gives you flexibility in case you went for when you start the application and you've never stored anything before. So now that we have this database, we need to write a save method. And this is going to be a little complex, but we just want you to have the general idea what's happening. You don't really need to know the exact code. So we do database.transaction do db ideas or equals empty array db ideas shovel in title diet comma description. This is a hash. Pizza all the time, which is my definition of a fantastic diet, eating pizza all the time. And we save. So this database here is referencing this database, which is returning an instance of this YAML store. The YAML store instance has a method called transaction, which we see here. A transaction is a set of database operations that is grouped together. So what we're saying here is that in this transaction, we're going to refer to the database as DB. And we're telling the database, hey, there should be a collection named ideas. If not, create one, very similar to what we did down here. And if not, we start one, which is this empty array, and then we're going to put in this fake idea here. No, I don't want to call it a fake idea because it's still an excellent idea of diet and pizza all the time. So we're going to save that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to hit Control-C to stop my server. Can I make this bigger? Oh, this is frustrating. Why can't I make this bigger? Sorry. I'm sorry. And what we're going to do is that we're going to fire up IRB. IRB is this kind of playground that lets us kind of play with Ruby without making any kind of... It's kind of like this Ruby scratch pad. And so in IRB, I'm going to require idea. Ooh. Oh, I got this error message, and the reason I have that error message is because I accidentally pasted this at the end. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to run require idea again, and it says true. True means that I've successfully required that file. And so what I'm going to do, idea equals idea.new. Creating a new instance of idea. And now I'm going to do idea.save. And I get this error message, uninitialized constant idea YAML. So it doesn't know what YAML is because I haven't required it. And so I need to tell IRB to load YAML and then try to save again. Even though YAML is a part of Ruby, it's not something that's loaded automatically. The whole idea is like, let's say you're going for a hike. Right? This is Colorado. Do you bring a tent? Do you bring your sleeping bag for an afternoon hike? Do you bring 50 gallons of water just in case? No, you for a afternoon hike, I'd probably bring a bottle of water, depending on how hot it was. Maybe a couple bottles of water. Maybe like a hydration pack, right? I'm not bringing all those things because if I'm carrying a 50-pound pack, well, I'm going to be going pretty slow, aren't I? And this is the same idea. Ruby doesn't load every single bit of code possible. It loads the bare basics, and if you need to bring things, you bring it. You bring load. For example, today was raining, and if I wanted to go on a hike today, I would not bring a sleeping bag and a tent, but I'd probably bring a rain jacket. Probably not an umbrella. I don't think, do people hike with umbrellas? I don't think they do. So what we're going to do is that we're going to require YAML store, and we see true, successful, and then we're going to do that again, idea.save, and we see here that we've got this array that contains a hash, diet, description, pizza, all the time. And so we need to make sure, like, did we actually save this, or is it just doing anything? So we do idea.database.transaction and colon idea.database ideas squiggly bracket. Pro tip, be very, very careful typing symbols in. I would say that 95% of my errors as a programmer are because I misspelled something, used the wrong punctuation, wrong symbol when I wanted to use something else. But usually it's misspelling. because it's like idea. Like by the time we're done with this, we've got that, I think it's called cognitive dissonance, where idea no longer is a word that holds any meaning to us. And when I hit enter, I see here that my database has pizza description diet all the pizza all the time. So let's do idea.save again. Let's see if we can add another one. And we see here that, well, we've got two ideas, both of which are diet and pizza all the time. So they're definitely being saved to the database, and it's kind of pointless because we're saving the same idea over and over again, but the basic functionality is working. So what we have to do now is that we got to get our idea to know about YAML.store, right? Because we've done this in IRB, but we've not done it in code. So we're going to require YAML/store. Store. Cool. We're going to save that. And I'm going to quit IRB by typing in quit there, and we can see that I've got the 2 slashes in the heart, which means I'm back in my terminal. So now let's take a look at the database. Let's take a look at the files in the project. We see that we have our views folder with the error index. We've got app.rb, we made that. Config.ru, that's for rackup, we made that. Gem file, we made that. Gemfile.lock, we made that when we bundled. And we've got idea.rb, which contains our idea class here. But oh, we have this Ideabox file. What is in this file? Bam, and this here is our YAML file. This is our database. This is where we're storing everything. Our database is in a regular plain text file right there in the system, and instruction format called YAML. And we can actually go in here and edit the things. So when we have a title here, let's change our title for this second one called exercise. And our exercise routine is that we are going to play all the video games. This is some great exercise we're doing. And now we saved it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to run IRB. We're going to require idea, right? And then we're going to do that idea.database.transaction, idea.database, ideas, that whole shebang, and this should return us everything in our database, right? Ooh, what did I do? I did not create an idea. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do idea equals idea.new, and now I can do that. And we see here that we've got the diet, pizza all the time, and we've got the change. Exercise, play all the video games. That's exactly what we changed in here, and that's fantastic. So now we've got code that we're saving things to a database, which is fantastic. But here the problem is that, you know, we're just saving the same thing over and over again, and we want to save data passed in when the instance is created. So let's say let's take this IBR, right? I want to do it. I want to make it look so when I do idea.equals idea.new, I want to pass in the stuff that I want. So let's do the app. Our idea, the title is the first thing is app, and our body right is gonna be social network for dogs, right? That seems like a great app to make. And then we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do idea.save. But here's the problem: is that it kind of freaks out, doesn't it? The method for idea, the new method for idea doesn't like that. It says that this error message here says that we're trying to give it 2 arguments, which is app and social network, but it accepts 0. So what we gotta do is we gotta change that. In this idea class, we're gonna make an initialize method, right? And this initialize method is gonna take 2 arguments or parameters: title, description. Also, pro tip: initialize seems easy to spell. When you're typing it, it's very hard to spell. So if things go wrong, go back and check your initialize, or as you're typing out initialize, sound it out: in-it-e-l-ize. I-N-I-T-I-A-L-I-Z-E. This is a mistake everyone makes in Ruby. They spell it wrong. They think they've spelled it right because there's a lot of I's in there, and that gets complicated. But I'm going to save that. And this works, right? We can go here, and we can do idea new. Oops. I have to require idea again to load it. No, sorry, let's do this. Run IRB, require idea, and it's true. And we're going to do idea equals idea.new app social network for doggos. You did not know this, but all doggos are good doggos. And we create this idea. And when we save it, what happens? Yeah, that's the problem. When we save it, like we see here in the save method, we're just saving diet and pizza all the time. Not great, right? So what we got to do is that we need to take the title and description that we're passing in here and store them to instance variables and actually kind of use them. So we do at title equals title description equals description. And one thing I like to do is I like to space this out so it's a little easier to read. Cool. We're going to make this an add a reader. Ooh. And we've got this title and description, cool. And what we're going to do is that we need to change the save method to use them. So instead of title, when we shovel this into the DB ideas, instead of title, we're going to use title. Instead of description, we're going to use description, like so. And so I'm going to restart my RB session. And we're going to do idea. Oh, no, first we've got to require the idea. And we're going to do idea equals idea.new. And of course, we're going to make an app. That's going to be a social network for doggos. And idea.save. And we see here we've got the idea repeats all the time, the idea of exercise, play all the video games, and the idea of the app, social network for doggos. And if we go to Ideabox, we see that we've got 3 ideas now, and the last one is the social network for doggos. It's fantastic. So we've got a lot of code. Let us quit IRB. Let us start our server. Let us refresh. Oops. We're going to go back to this. We're going to go back to the site. We're going to make need pet adopt corgi. Did I spell that right? Yes, I did. I want to submit the query. And what's this? Wrong number of arguments, 0 for 2. And the problem here is that if we go back here, we go back to our app, idea.new is only taking no arguments, and we're going to send in 2. So we got to get the form data here. So what we're going to do is that we are going to comment that out, and we're going to do params.inspect. I'm going to save the file, and when I run this and I refresh, resend the data, I want to see that undefined local variable idea for Ideabox app line 18. Oops. Need to comment this out too, because I'm not doing anything on IDs. I just want to do a params.inspect. I'm going to refresh this, resend it, and I see here that my params is this hash where the title is need pet, description is adopt corgi. Cool. And so we can use the form data. We're going to create this idea. Well, let me get rid of this line because we don't need it anymore. Idea is going to be idea.new, and we're going to pass it params idea title params idea description. And now we're going to save the idea. We aren't commenting that. And now the last thing we need to do is that we need to redirect after our save, and we do that by doing this. Redirect. Bam. I'm going to save it, and let's go back to this. Back to the original idea. We're going to need a pet. I'm going to adopt a corgi, and when we submit it, we see here, well, that worked halfway, didn't it? We got back to our root page, but we don't have any things here. We are never listing the ideas in our idea box. We're going to go back here. We're going to start index. And after this form, we're going to create a place where our ideas are listed. And we're going to use some Ruby in here. So I'm going to do H3. We're going to have existing ideas. And we're going to do unordered list. Ideas.each. Do idea. And so the idea here, I need to stop doing that. What we're trying to do here is that we're going to treat ideas like this this array of these idea objects, and we're going to display them all on our screen. And these angle bracket signs are ERB tags, and ERB is embedded Ruby. We're trying to mix our Ruby into our HTML. And so we have that, and we're going to do a list object where percent equals idea.title br slash idea.description. I realize that I've made a typo there. I am missing something. Am I missing something? Okay, that looks good. Let's save it. Let us refresh it. And undefined local variable method ideas. All right. So we don't have this collection called ideas that our view has an access to. So we're going to go back to app.rb. Where are you? And in here, ERB index, locals, ideas, empty array. Like that. This means that we want to render the ERB template named index and define in that scope the local variable named ideas with the value brackets. Cool. So I'll save that. Oops. We'll refresh this. And we've got those existing ideas, but no actual ideas. That's because we're passing in this empty array. We got to get all the ideas. So in a perfect world, we'll change this out so that ideas will be this collection of all of our ideas. So when we put this in here and we save it, and we go back here and we refresh, we get this error message, undefined method all for idea class. So when we have an undefined method, that means we should make a method, right? So this is how we implement idea.all. In this idea class, we're going to do def self.all, and we're going to do database.transaction do db ideas, if I can spell right. If I can type. And we're doing something very similar to previously. We're saying like, hey, for this method all, I want you to grab me the ideas, or if that doesn't exist, just return an empty array. And so when we go here, we refresh this. It's going to say undefined variable method database for idea. And so we need to change the database method to be defined on the class. Right now, our database method is only available to instances of idea, but not the idea class itself. So what we're going to do is that we are going to make a database method called self. I'm going to change this to a class method with self.database. And when we do def.database, we're just going to call idea.database. Cool. And when we reload this, we get undefined method title for this hash. right? Because hashes doesn't have a title method. The view template is kind of called the title method and what it can get back from all. But all is returning an array of hashes, right? So the hash has a key title, but not a method .title. So we can modify the view template to ID as the hash, but that defeats the purpose of having idea model. Our call to all should return idea instances. Cool. So let's go back to our self.all here. And this idea here is that we want to make it so that when we have, let's do this, def self.all, we want this method to call raw ideas, and we're going to map over it. And here in this map, we're going to make a new instance of the idea object. And so def raw ideas, oops. And in this database.transaction, oops, no, this is, need to change the method for this, the name of this. So now the raw ideas method just gives us a array of hashes, and all will convert that hash into an array of idea objects. Oops, and we hit refresh here, and we see here we have all ideas. We're accessing things from the database. We got the diet, the pizza all the time, exercise, play all the video games, app, social network for doggos, need a pet, adopt a corgi. And so what we're going to do, oops, is that here we are going to stop our server. We're going to right click on Ideabox. We're going to delete it. Right, so that's gone. We're going to run our app again with Shotgun. We're going to go here, refresh. We have this thing, and we're going to make sure that we can save ideas. So the original idea was diet, eat pizza all the time. We submit the query, and we can see here that we've saved the idea here, and we go to the idea box. We can see that we've saved it here in the database as well. So that was a lot. That was iterations 0, 1, and 2 of this Ideabox project. I hope that this was helpful to you. We will pick up later next time with more iterations. But thanks for stopping by, and enjoy.